like that. I remember seeing that card when it came out. I was like, oh, that card's a little scary. And no one played it, thank God. So we have Stormbreath Dragon times 4. And like I said, Stormbreath Dragon against certain decks, you're just going to mash them. Against Esper, I'm not too afraid of Stormbreath Dragon. It's not really a scary card. However, it still has haste, and it's probably going to hit you once if you time it right. So it's still not exactly a dead card. So
we haven't seen a lot of big Boros. I know that players like Chris Van Meter have been writing about this deck and have been fond of this deck, but it hasn't really found its place in the metagame. It's almost like, the big Boros deck is kind of trumped by Brad Nelson's Naya control strategy. But either way, James Gaynor is sitting at 1-0. He'll be playing against David Thomas, playing Esper, also sitting at 1-0. So round 2 will be underway for you guys shortly here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. And make sure you do join us on Twitter all weekend long at SCG Live, hashtag SCGDAL for your tweets, as Shaheen and I will be checking them all weekend long. A lot of aggro players probably out there pretty happy with how things have shaped up over the past couple of days here.
Yep, I really do feel like Magic divides into 2 camps, and I try to represent one camp the best of my ability, and it really is a war, I think. I think, well, I'm on the control side of the war, and I feel like we're losing this war. So those who are listening, build those control decks, make them able to beat these aggro decks, and, get to work here.
Tom is going to start things off with a Thoughtseize. We'll see if he'll be kind enough to lay out that hand for you guys at home. Looks like he's going to do a pretty good job. You see an Ash Zealot, actually 2 copies of Ash Zealot, a Boros Charm, looks like a Chandra's Phoenix, a Lightning Strike, a Pithing Needle, and a Mountain. So not a lot of lands there for Gaynor.
And I'm looking at James's deck here, and that Pithing Needle, he has a main deck.
Yeah, just a one of.
Yeah, why not? Let's have a good time. And the red decks, you never want more than one, I think. Yeah. Because I can imagine how painful it would be. You're like, oh, you're at 2 and you draw a Pithing Needle. You just want to bury your head. But he has 1 in there, and it's good because these decks don't really have a lot of answers to permanents on the board that are not creatures.
Yeah.
So you really need to have an option, because cards like Jace, very good against Ash Zealot and Chandra's Phoenix, is things that just make your guys really, really small, and you want to have at least 1 out to it.
You see, Thomas is going to take his time to resolve his thoughts. He's take a look at his hand and figure out what he wants to do and how he wants this game to progress here. The one thing that Thomas doesn't know is that he's playing against a bigger Boros deck. He's not playing against a red deck splashing white or hyper-aggressive deck, even though the hand does look hyper-aggressive.
Right, and you can't really tell from this because the hand looks like an aggro deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a super aggressive one. So, the Pithing Needle makes you kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit, but the rest of those cards are just very reasonable aggro cards.
Going to play a Hollow Fountain and pass the turn back after taking the Lightning Strike with the Thoughtseize. So Gaynor's going to draw a card. He draws an Elspeth off the top, so a card that does not go with his hand very well at all.
Not at all, no. And it looks like he's just mountain hand. And it's an interesting card to have in your deck, an Elspeth. Even if you're playing have a mid-range opportunity, for a few reasons. One, it's white. It's kind of hard to get sometimes. Mm-hmm. And 2, being at 6 mana, it looks like he's banking on his 2 Boros Guildgates and 4 Sacred Foundry and 4 Triumphs. So that's 10 white sources. Oh yeah, it's 2 planes too, so 12. Not so bad. Still tough though.
Ash Zealot going to come out here for Gaynor, the second one. Of course, Thomas did know about this, so we'll see if he wants to use a Dissolve on this, and he does. So he's going to counter that and he's going to do a little Scry action here.
Yeah. I like that because it's pretty much gain 2 life here. At this point, when you're the Esper player, you're pretty much countering anything that deals damage to you when you think you're playing against Mono Red, because that is your form of life gain.
Yeah,
counter, gain 2.
Yeah, just use those cards.
Yeah.
You just have to get those cards out of your hand and then, of course, refuel with the Revelation. So Thomas is going to draw a card, draws an Attention Sphere for the turn.
I bet he wished he knew that was coming. So yeah, I guess he's gonna pay 2. He's gonna verdict this alone away. Or no, Jace. Okay, he has Jace, and +1 here, obviously.
So Jace's going to start at 4.
Oh.
It's going to go down to 2. So Temple, Silence, Nyx Revelation, and a Dissolve off the top.
I don't mind this because he knows that James has the Boros Charm. However, that means James has to waste Boros Charm in his attack to kill that Jace. And it really depends. I never see the rest of David's hand. If he has a weak backup plan, I like the minusing here. Otherwise, I don't, because now Asel will get ready to take of that. And then James has Boros Charm, which is just a phenomenal card to hold against David Thomas's Supreme Verdict deck. So, I don't know.
Well, we can't forget that Gaynor does have that Pithing Needle in his hand as well. So, how good would Jace actually be?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he can needle it, but then, Thomas has the Detention Sphere in his hand for the needle. So, it's kind of some back and forth here with the decision.
And David's life total is 12, so that's not the healthiest against this deck. And he still thinks that James is playing this hyper-aggressive red deck, and so far James has only played cards that would hint toward that.
Yeah. Chandra's Phoenix is going to come down, attack Thomas for 4, going to put him down.
What do you think about not killing Jace here?
I'm a little bit surprised to not see him kill Jace, because now Verdict cleans everything up. And we'll see how Thomas wants to cash in this Jace, again, knowing that there's a Pithing Needle coming, or if he just wants to up it. Because Temple of Silence to begin, to scry, to get some information.
I think we up it here anyway and make James play the Pithing Needle. I think you have Detention Sphere, and look, and also David has Dissolved Detention Sphere in his hand, so you can untap Detention Sphere, the Needle, and then have Dissolve back up. So yeah, I think that's what he's going to do here.
All right, so Jace is going to take up to 3. So a Comfort Stone activation is out there. And we'll see what Gaynor can put together for this turn again, because we do know he has Pithing Needle, we do know he has Boros Charm, and he is going to cast a Pithing Needle.
Okay.
And he's likely going to name Jace Architect of Thought, but we will get confirmation from our table spotter just to ensure that that's true.
Right. Oh.
And he's going to attempt to cast Boros Charm, but he tapped his mana incorrectly, using the Boros Guildgate for the Pithing Needle.
And he named Aetherling with Pithing Needle as well. So, okay, so this is a disaster for James. And it's, well, there's the Aetherling. And the big problem with this is, you basically wasted your whole turn and nothing really happened.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, that Jace should be gone, but an unfortunate mistapping here. You get to see a Jace -2 activation. The Aetherling and the land going to go to the grip for Thomas. He's going to play a Hallowed Fountain. We'll see if he has anything else this turn. Just going to pass the turn back.
Yeah, and James really is not too afraid of Aetherling as well in his deck. If Aetherling's out and doing its job, the game is probably almost over anyway, Yep. So it's the red deck is not too worried about the turn 7 Aetherling and then turn 8, 9, 10 swings for lethal. By that point, you're pretty much on the ropes.
So Dissolve going to take care of a main phase of Boros Charm here from Gaynor. Thomas deciding exactly what he does want to do with the Scry here.
And, his hand is full of removal, so I think at this point I'm bottoming anything that isn't Sphinx's Revelation. And obviously not literally anything, but most things. Because he has Hero's Downfall, Detention Sphere, and Avert in his hand. He's got all the tools he needs. So now we just want to get our life above 8.
Looks like a Godless Shrine off the top here for Thomas. Going to up that Jace, going to play that Shrine tap, going to jam Aetherling out there. Says, do your worst to my 4/5. 5 toughness against a red deck, pretty big deal.
Yeah, again here, Pithing Needle doesn't really do much against Aetherling because I'll take a 4/5 any day against the red deck.
Absolutely. As there's a Temple of Triumph on the top for Gaynor. Looks like he's going to keep the top card with the Scry. You see he does have a Lightning Strike and that Elspeth in his hand. A couple of mystery red cards hanging out in the grip too. So we'll see how he can progress this game. Again, he is just trying to fade a Sphinx's Revelation, because if one of those does come off the top for Thomas, it's going to be very, very hard for Gaynor to win.
Right, and David also has access to gaining 5 life on a whim with the Devour Flesh on his own Aetherling, and which doesn't sound like a great play, but against red, you're going to win the inevitability game, so just surviving is the name of the game.
There's Detention Sphere. Take care of that Needle.
There we go.
So now Aetherling is back to being the best creature in the format when you get to untap with mana.
Yeah, pretty tough to kill that guy.
So Aetherling going to come across for 4. Looks like he's going to blink it out. Going to cash. No, not going to cash in Jace yet. Going to put up to 4 and just give it Vigilance. So he's playing around haste creatures like Ash Zealot now by doing that.
Yeah, and you always do that. There's no reason not to. Aetherling against the red decks prevents any kind of ground assault from happening unless you have critical mass. And we see Aetherling hold down the fort against the empty board. James is in a world of hurt. He has facing down his dreaded Aetherling that he tried to stop with Needle. 2-turn clock, and he really just needs to burn David out of the game.
So you see Mutavault came off the top here for Gaynor, puts that right into play. So he's got 5 land, 1 away from Elspeth. Not sure if Elspeth can turn this game around, though.
No, he's going to need to use that Lightning Strike right now to burn David, put him at 5, get Chandra Phoenix back, and then attack for 2. And then he'll put David in range of his Stormbird Dragon he's holding. But no, he's going to do it this way.
Looks like we're going to go with the Dragon. Okay.
I like the other play a little bit better because when you got him at 4, a lot of people won't see it coming, and David might have his mana tapped. This way, if you 3 him, and then if David does a counter spell, you get your Phoenix back, and then you play the Phoenix, and he has to waste a removal spell on the Phoenix.
-2 on the Jace. Thoughtseize, Supreme Verdict, and a Godless Shrine off the top. So we'll see how he does split these. Did you see in Thomas's hand, you mentioned the Devour Flesh, also has another copy of Detention Sphere and a Godless Shrine.
I think David wants the Thoughtseize, even though that's going to put him at 6. I would take it just to see James's hand to take any other burn spell he may or may not have. If I'm David here, because I think trading 2 life for any of those cards into James' hands is going to be pretty good, because they're not lands. James has something in his hand. So I would assume he have a burn spell, and he is going to take the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, the fact that he can always Devour Flesh at will to gain life off of his Aetherling is actually a pretty big deal here. And I actually like taking that Thoughtseize as well, which is what Thomas does. You see that hand there of a Lightning Strike Elspeth, and that's a promotional red card.
I have no idea what
It
that
is
is.
very rare that one gets by me. Okay, it's promotional Ember Swallower.
Okay.
That's what I thought it was, but I haven't seen the promo version of it.
I haven't seen it either. All right, so Ember Swallower, another one of those cards that is not exactly part of the red deck forte, if you will. It's not a main aggressive card, but James is trying to do this hybrid thing.
See a Aetherling attack here. Looks like it's going to be for 8 because he does want to put him on the 2-turn clock. So there goes the Aetherling. It's going to blink out. It's going to come back in. 2 blue mana available to blink it out if he needs to.
Right, so David's at 6 currently. And I think we'll see what James does here. He has Elspeth, but that's not going to do much. Aetherling is going to kill him in one shot. So it looks like James is done this game.
Yeah, I don't think, even though he did draw his 6th land, 4, 5, and 6, so there is Elspeth. If he does minus that, he just blinks out the Aetherling and comes across for lethal, and if he does make the tokens, you just make it unblockable, and this is why Aetherling is the best threat for these decks.
Yeah, when it was made, I was actually a little suspicious of it because it does cost 7 reality-wise. You can't really pay 6 for it against most of these decks. But it is well worth it. It's well worth it.
And you see James does come to the same conclusion that we do at home, and that is going to do it. So Dave Thomas is going to win game number 1 over James Gaynor as per control, up a game over Big Boros. As we do move towards the sideboards here, we'll start with Gaynor's sideboard, see what he can sideboard into this match, trying to turn things around. He's got 1 copy of Chain of the Rocks, 2 Celestial Fair, 2 copies of Renounce the Guilds, 2 Wear and Tear, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Glare of Heresy, 3 Mizzium Mortars, and a Pithing Needle. So he's going to want to make his deck lean and clean since he needs to be the aggressor here. So I like Wear and Tear to take care of Attention Sphere. I think that's an easy place to start.
He has 3 different options for getting rid of Attention Sphere. It's Glare of Heresy, Wear and Tear, and Renounce the Guilds. And do you think maybe you assume that David has Elspeth, and he only has 1 copy. So in that situation, Glare might be better than Wear and Tear, but he only has 1 copy of Elspeth. Is the 1 mana worth it to sacrifice a little bit more utility? I'm not sure. I mean, as the aggro player, what do you think? Would you rather have a more broad sweep card?
I initially thought that Glare of Heresy taking care of an Elspeth was not realistic, but after playing some online this week, it actually turned it up to being quite realistic. So I could actually see Glare actually being good here.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and like you said, get rid of the Detention Sphere. It does that too. I don't think you want to bring in Wear and Tear, Renounce, and Glare to deal with.
Definitely not.
So you might want to bring in maybe 2 copies of Glare, maybe board out. I don't know what's bad in here. It has a symbol is very good. Chain of the Rocks is terrible, so he's going to probably take that out. What else is not playable here?
These burn spells are okay for just reach purposes. They're not exciting. Pithing Needle is not very exciting to me personally, but I guess it taking care of a Jace or potentially taking care of an Aetherling, for a short period of time could be okay.
Yeah.
Lightning Strike is not very exciting. It's basically an overpriced lava spike in this matchup, so I could see that coming out. Same thing can be said for War Leader's Helix too.
Yeah, and it looks like if he had more cards on board in, he'd probably go that route. But like you said, you don't want to really clutter your deck full of answers when you're the aggro player. So I think he's just going to board out the 2 Chain of the Rocks for 2 Glare of Heresy and call it a day. On the other side, we have 4 Blood Baron of Vizkopa, which is a lot of Blood Baron of Vizkopa here. We have 2 more Devour Flesh. We have maybe a 3rd or another Hero's Downfall. I doubt it. It's definitely an overpriced card. But he did see Stormbreath Dragon, so if you see Stormbreath Dragon, you might want Hero's Downfall. He also saw Elspeth, so maybe he's going to bring that in as well. But obviously the 4 Blood Baron of Vizkopa is an easy auto sideboard card. So we'll see what he does here.
You see that Thomas's deck list, he's made some concessions to try to be better against aggro decks. He has 2 copies of Quicken, so he can speed out a Wrath of God or something of that nature. You see he's got the 4 copies of Feast of Revelation, which looks to be the industry standard nowadays. A lot of people were playing 3. It looks like he's playing 4. 1 copy of Faraway, 2 copies of Devour Flesh. So he's got a lot of removal. And Devour Flesh is, obviously one that he can use on himself to be able to gain some more life, but interacting a lot in the early game.
Yeah. And I think the reason why people play 4 Sphinx of Revelation is with the popularity of Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is one of those cards that when they reprinted it, I was like, this probably shouldn't be in standard. I mean, people cried about Mana Leak. I think Thoughtseize is much better than that card. You have a card that's just a 1 mana, answer all, easy 4 of in every aggro deck you could think of, and there's not really much talent when it comes to crafting your deck. When you're playing your mono black devotion deck, you play 4 Thoughtseize. When you're playing your Esper deck against control deck, you board into 4 Thoughtseize. So Thoughtseize is one of those cards that I think is maybe a little too good, but there's no reason to cry over spilled milk here, so it's already around. Let's get used to it. And I think as the Esper player, do you want a bunch of Thoughtseizes against the aggro decks? I don't think so. I think that's a card you can board out.
Yeah, I mean, the camps are kind of split on that one because, people think of Thoughtseize as, this. Yes, you end up taking 2 points of damage, but you might take 2 points of damage to take away 4 points of damage.
Right.
So, is it worth that exchange? We saw in the late stages of that game where Thomas revealed a Thoughtseize off of the Jace, and we both agreed that it was correct to actually take the Thoughtseize against the red deck to be able to take a burn spell. So I can certainly see instances where you are going to want to leave in some copies of Thoughtseize in this matchup.
Yeah, I guess I'm used to more of the Legacy aspect where I always board Thoughtseize out against the aggro decks. But Legacy, obviously, they can kill you on turn 3. It's a little bit different than these standard decks here. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be tough for James to win against 4 Blood Baron. Like I said, that's a lot of Blood Baron.
Yes, that sure is.
Yeah.
As Gaynor's going to start off with a Boros Guildgate, you've got David Thomas start off with a Temple of Deceit. Going to do a little scry action and pass it back to Gaynor. So we'll see if we can get on the board a little bit early as a second land. You see a Boros Charm. Looks like he's got a Reckoner hanging out over there as well, but no Ash Zealot. As a Temple of Silence here for Thomas. Going to scry his top card to the bottom and pass the turn back.
Yeah, this is arguably why Esper is the best control deck, is because you have access to 8 scry lands. The blue-eye red deck, even though it's better fitted to beat these aggressive decks, you only have 4 scry lands. And I've thought a few times of just playing an off-color scry land because I'm jealous of it, but can't do that. So it's another point in the Esper camp if you want to play that, where you have 8 scry lands. Pretty good.
Thomas going to play a Hallowed Fountain here. Gaynor had missed his land drop, and now he has drawn a land after casting a Boros Charm. We're going to play a Chandra's Phoenix and come across for 2. Devour Flesh going to take care of that. Let Gaynor move up to 22, but for Thomas, the threat is off the board, which is the best part.
Yep, and that's the threat that keeps on giving, though. Chandra's Phoenix easily can come back. Definitely a thorn in the side of the Esper deck. I always save my detention spheres for that guy when available. Oh, we have a Chandra Pyromancer. This card's going to be very, very good. He's going to trigger Chandra's Phoenix. If David doesn't have a counterspell here, we're going to see pretty good exchange here. Oh, no.
Yeah, if he does cast it, looks like he might go with the Phoenix instead. The Pyromaster is in Gaynor's hand, so does he want to cast the 4-mana Planeswalker, or does he want to stay in the skies? He's a little unsure of himself right now.
I think we go with the Planeswalker because there's just nothing David can do besides Hero's Downfall here. With the Phoenix, he can have any number of removal spells.
And so there is the Pyromaster, and if you caught a glimpse of Thomas's hand, you did see that he does have a copy of Hero's Downfall in his hand. But first he's going to start by just dinging you and get back my Phoenix. Hopefully he doesn't forget. It looks like he may have, though.
Yep, he forgot.
Yeah.
All right, well, that makes it not the play I would have done. But definitely, if he gets the Phoenix back there, he would actually, cancel any card loss there. He'd actually be up a card on David there in that exchange. So he draws, or he's looking at a scry, top of his card, top of his deck here. I think anything that's a spell is probably going to keep on top. He's got plenty of lands.
So he does put his top card back. 4 mana, potentially. Looks like maybe we're just going to go down to 3. As if you guys did notice, Thomas did miss his land drop last turn, so there is a Boros Reckoner here from Gaynor. Means Thomas is obviously all spells, but he's got some work to do to get himself out of this situation, because the one thing that Esper does not ever want to do is miss land drops.
Yeah, I mean, your best card is Sphinx of Revelation later in the game. Not so good with 4 lands, so.
There's a Water Grave that comes into play untapped.
He just can't help wait to get in play.
Yeah, and there that is. So that explains why Water Grave does come into play untapped. Hero's Downfall took care of the Reckoner, and now David Thomas is back in the driver's seat as a Temple of Triumph off the top here from Gaynor.
He has one answer to this card, and that's Elspeth. That's it. And that's just that's not a place you want to be.
No, not at all. As here's a Stormbreath Dragon. So,
again, if this is playing against Blue White Red, it'd be good. Here, it just gets killed. He just flings it. Look, he's you gotta kill it.
Can't get that Devour Flesh out of his hand fast enough. So Stormbreath Dragon trying to play a little bit of defense, but does not work out. Going to gain Gaynor 4 life, but now Blood Baron's going to start coming into the red zone. And this is, as you mentioned, where things do get incredibly, incredibly tough for the big Boros deck.
And I think David did exactly what we were talking about prior to this match, about changing your deck to beat the aggro decks. Most Esper decks have 2 Blood Baron, maybe 3. 3 is pushing it. He is playing 4, and if you're playing 4 Blood Baron, you're doing that for one reason only, to beat the aggro decks. Because Blood Baron, even though you bring some in the Esper Mirror, it's bad. Everybody knows the jig is up. You're going to keep a Verdict or 2, and it's going to do nothing, or Elspeth will come out and kill it, or whatever. It gets countered. But against the aggro decks, when you got 4, you're guaranteeing a turn 5 Blood Baron more times than not, you know?
You saw an Ember Swallower try to come in there. It's a 4-5 versus a 4-4 Blood Baron, but Hero's Downfall takes care of that. So Blood Baron's just going to get the keep right on attacking. Thomas also has a copy of Detention Sphere in his hand. Not sure what the other couple
Dissolve,
of cards
I see
are.
another card.
There's a Dissolve hanging out. I think the third card is a Revelation, so we'll find out as a Challenger's Phoenix is going to come into play here for Gaynor. He's going to tap 3 more mana, play another Phoenix, and get into the air. But he's just going to pass the turn back again, trying to play defense, as Thomas is going to resolve a Revelation 4-3. So the Baby Revelation.
The Baby Revelation. And Baby Revelation, good enough. Healing Salve, whoever thought Healing Salve would be so good, you know? I remember back in the day when you gain life. Gaining life is lame. Who wants to do that?
Not me.
Yeah, not me either, actually. And now, all I want to do is gain life. I go on the Gatherer or go on Star City and look up cards. What gains life? And then I put them in my deck.
The Detention Sphere going to 2-for-1 Gaynor here. Take care of both those Phoenixes. Blood Baron coming across. Temple of Deceit leaving the top card. The top card on top of Thomas's deck. And now Gaynor is playing off the top of his versus an Esper player who has a lot of cards in hand. Not a good spot to be in.
No, definitely not. So when your Esper player is at 28 and you know you don't have any outs in your deck, as the aggro player, this is something that I kind of joked around with when I was talking with Ricky and then Chapin not too long ago on air. When do you concede when you're playing aggro? Never? Do you wait for the final point?
Never concede.
Never concede?
Never give in, never surrender.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
There's a Celestial Flare
when
up
I
the
say
top.
there's no
Take
outs,
that.
yeah.
Take that, buddy.
Got it.
Get that Blood Baron out of here. You didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't see that coming either.
I don't think Dave saw that coming either. Here's a Jace Architect of Thought gonna come off the top.
All right. I mean, he had an answer.
It's not impossible. It's just improbable.
Yeah.
Jace is gonna tick up here.
Duly noted. All right. So Celestial Flare dispatches the Blood Baron. And, David has the second copy of Blood Baron and a Revelation for about 35. It looks like when he untaps. If you want to.
Approximately.
Yeah, I crunched the numbers. It's close to that.
There's a Boros Reckoner there. Thomas gives him the thumbs up. Gonna untap and gonna draw a card.
Thomas is playing real careful, and the reason why I played Jason last week is he wants to play Blood Baron with Dissolve open, and that's fine. He got fool me once that Celestial Flare. You're not gonna do it again.
There is your Blood Baron that you did mention. Here's a Holophon, pass the turn back. So Jace is up to 6. Blood Baron in play, Dissolve available, as you did mention. So got the shields up as he knows his opponent is just playing off the top.
Yeah. Celestial Flare me again, he says. I dare you. Got
this.
It
may have been a Pithing Needle off the top of the deck there from Gaynor.
Yep, and I think if you're David, you dissolve this maybe. I don't know. It just seems actually I don't know. It's you're at this point. This is kind of when I play a little bit sloppier when I feel like I'm real ahead because I'm actually a second ago I was talking about my opponent conceding there. So play a little bit tight. This is not actually game breaking if it hits Jace here, but I want my Planeswalkers to be free, so I would free his binds here.
Yeah, I'd much rather, just hang on to that Dissolve in case some orders just come off the top or something, which would be rather annoying, as the Needle does name Aetherling yet again. So.
All right, well, never mind.
Jace is free.
Jace is free. He's going to read it. He's going to see the ultimate at 8. Not many people get the ultimate, this guy. He's going to block his guy with a pro-white Blood Baron. James, a little bit confused. I guess he did not know Boros Reckoner would be swallowed up by that guy.
Yeah, can't target it with the damage ability from the Reckoner, so the best that Gaynor can do here is turn that 3 damage either towards Thomas, who would knock him down 25, or towards Jace. And actually deal 4, not 3.
Yep, and he is quite dead. All right, and Jace goes down to 2, and it looks like we're going to be seeing a hefty Revelation here, end of James's turn here. Yeah, this is going to be for 7. Yep,
so Jace is going to move on up. You see Revelation mana, a ton of it. Looks like it is going to be for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 there. Looks like it is going to be for 7. You're the Revelation Master. So.
Oh, yeah, I can kind of eyeball that. But when I look at a red card, I'll gives me a headache.
Yeah, you get the shakes.
I get a little scared. Little nightmares, little Ash Zealot nightmares. All right.
And that is going to do it. So David Thomas is going to win this match over James Gaynor 2-0. Esper Control does defeat the big Boros deck. So Dave Thomas with Esper. We'll see if he can make his way through some more rounds of this tournament. He's going to play against Mono Red or Boros or some sort of hyper-aggressive deck over the course of the tournament.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it in much more detail prior that if you're going to beat the Esper decks, you got to have a fast Boros deck. You have to have a fast red deck.
Yeah.
If you kind of teeter around and play big drops like he's playing an Elspeth and Chandra's Power Manager, War Leader's Helixes, these cards, they're not that great against Esper because then their counterspells are